because sometimes you have to adjust to the environment just so you can be heard. But yet sometimes it's not entirely you, like, oh my goodness, I'm giving this up. And it may not be, I'm not authentic anymore to myself. So I think that's part of the whole, once you start living, you grow up one way and then now you enter in this new environment that's completely different from what you were used to or had grown up with.
This is Chocolate and Coffee Break, a compassionate proposition, a space to share stories, bridge divides, and spark meaningful connections. So grab your chocolate, pour your cuppa, and let's break down barriers, one conversation at a time. And now, here's your host, Andrea Pudding.
And welcome to Chocolate and Coffee Break for another heartwarming episode. So I'm really looking forward to having this conversation today with my beautiful guest. But sometimes the deepest understandings between people don't come from hate. They come from assumption, from believing the way we communicate, the way we live, the way we relate to one another is simply normal. But what happens when someone walks into a culture where all the unspoken rules are different? Today's conversation is about belonging, identity, and the quiet exhaustion of trying to fit into a world that doesn't quite understand where you come from. And perhaps by the end of it, we might all become a little more curious about each other and a little less certain that our way is the only way. So I'd like to welcome Elee Joven. And I'm really pleased to have Elee. We're going to have a wonderful conversation today. Hello, Elee.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm ready to go. I've got my beautiful Lindt chocolate. I've got this mint one today, which I'm really looking forward
Yummy.
to diving into.
Oh.
So I like to start the show with a heart-opening question. And my question today is, can you take me to a moment where you realized you were seen differently to how you saw yourself?
How I saw myself and how I was seen differently. So when I'm originally from the tiny island of Guam. That's where I was born. And when I was growing up, I probably can only remember as far as me being 5 years old and above. And I remember my grandparents, because they were the ones who pretty much had raised me. And they were taking me back and forth between Guam and the Philippines. I would spend a year in Guam and then a year in the Philippines and then 2 years here, 2 years there. It was a lot of that. And each time I showed up in a different area, which was firstly in the Philippines, I already felt like it felt foreign to me because I couldn't speak the language, firstly, and I was still young at that time. And people, my classmates at that time, they felt, this was back in the 80s, okay? So travel back then is not as common as it is today. And when I would show up, I can sense that they felt weird or some kind of different towards me because I'm not from there. So they were adjusting. I'm also adjusting because I don't know how to talk to them except in English.
Yes. It must have been a confusing time as a child to have to deal with all that.
Yes.
I'd love to hear more about the world that shaped you growing up. What was life like, say, in Guam that shaped your life?
So back then, I would not have been thinking about like what effect this was going to have on me.
No.
When I become, an adult, right? So the best I could do is just try to live with it. But it was hard. It was hard. I show up in Guam where pretty much all my family is at. And even they would feel some type of like weirdness towards me because, oh, here's this girl, my cousin or my sister, going back and forth like, oh, it's you again. And I never had that real feeling of belonging, even though they were my family. And I guess it's kind of sad to say that now because I grew up with old people, which is my grandparents. So I wasn't used to my immediate family. And then in the meantime, when I go back to the Philippines, I'm trying to just have friendships with people that are around my age. So it was tough. Now that I think about it, like, oh my gosh, that was hard. It's not like I had siblings there with me to experience that. Like, how families now, they relocate together. Yeah. Or, at least you have your parents plus maybe a sibling or two with you. But I didn't have that. It was just me by myself. So it was hard to have that sense of belonging.
Did you find a sense of community? How is the sense of community different in, say, the Philippines and Guam?
In the Philippines, because I was considered a foreigner, I was seen more as like, oh, has a higher status.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I was seen as. And I think I didn't really think of it that way, but I kind of had to like, oh, you know what? I have to accept it because that's what it is. I can see other people, with their struggles and just having these jobs and having to put food on the table. Whereas me, I had a pretty comfortable life over there wherein I actually had people wait on me. So even though I had that, that was a different feeling than when I'm in Guam where I don't have any of that. You don't have like somebody cooking and cleaning or washing dishes for you. Because Guam is still considered an American territory. So pretty much we as Guamanians or American citizens, we're pretty independent. We do things on our own. But I didn't have that growing up in the Philippines wherein like I could be treated pretty well compared to what's natural for locals over there.
Yeah. Well, what is the normal within Guam? How do people live compared to so the Philippines? Apart from that, is there a big difference in those contrasts in there?
The good thing is that both areas, because they are in the Pacific, they have a pretty strong collective society. So it was more like, okay, you consult with your families and extended families even. You have ties that are pretty deep. When I moved to California when I was an adult, that was not the case at all. So that was my other adjustment in my adult life from my childhood, was the back and forth. And then when I was an adult, moving to the States eventually felt really different because the culture here in the States is more individualistic, wherein people are very independent and outspoken as well. And I didn't have that either in Guam or the Philippines. You're not as outspoken over there. You know, you respect your elders. You respect what comes to you and you take it. But here it's more like, no, you fight for yourself, you know, even if it means like disagreeing even with your family.
Yes. And I'd like to explore that a little bit more in a minute. So, but first, let's take a quick chocolate break so I can enjoy some of this beautiful chocolate and listen to our sponsors. And while you're there, why not subscribe, like, and comment on.
When I hit perimenopause, all I heard was doom and decline until I took a sacred pause and I went searching for women who were radiant after menopause, like Dr. Christiane Northrup, Dr. Vandana Shiva, and the late Dr. Gladys McGarry, still shining at 103. In this book, I share their stories and wisdom and the magic that menopause truly holds. 7 Wonders of Menopause is a sacred reminder. You're not ending, you're returning. Available at independent bookshops in Australia and Amazon around the world.
Did you know that only 30% of speakers are women and that only 13% of panels feature women? In order to change that, there is now a directory at womenspeakers.com.au where you can go and search for a speaker. We also have groups on Facebook and LinkedIn under the name Australian Women Speakers, where you can just go and post about your event and women will respond.
And we're here today with Elee Joven, and we're exploring a whole lot of things about different cultures that she's experienced. Now, Elee, I'd love to hear now about when you did move to America. Now, I understand that being born in Guam, that you're an American citizen, but I'm sure that moving from Guam to the US had a whole lot of things for you to then start adjusting to.
Oh, yes. Yes. Very much so. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Tone. What was the feeling that you had when you moved, and what changed in that different culture that you may not have thought there was going to be, but then suddenly that's discovering something different?
Yeah. So, I mean, even in the very beginning, I already was struggling. In the first 2 years, I would say I was going through these regrets and feeling depressed because I left everything behind. And it was what I knew. I was in a comfortable life wherein I knew my surroundings, I knew the people around me. And when you come over here and you are pretty much like reduced down to the bottom all over again because you're starting from zero. And even though I had family here, it was still different because their attitudes were more the Americanized version. I mean, the real Americanized version, I guess, compared to my semi-Americanized version in Guam, wherein I was more of an islander type and it was all about community. And over here, it was really challenging because you're pretty much on your own. I mean, it got to the point where in even communication, even though I can speak, well English, and I tell people when people would ask me like, where are you from? And then I say Guam, and the first thing they say to me is like, oh my gosh, you speak really good English. And it's like, well, yeah, because we're American also. So even that, and in my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, why don't they know this? So that's my thinking, right?
Yeah.
And even with my family, here, this is one is maybe a little bit funny because I notice everybody here says please and thank you to everything, even the
Yes.
littlest things.
Even
Like,
to AI.
and and this is like 25 years ago. Okay, all my life, the first 25 years of my life, I rarely ever had to say please or thank you. Like for the simplest things, like either opening up a door or passing over the remote to somebody or getting somebody water. It was just like, okay, that's what's expected. You do that for your friends or your family, and it's okay. It's perfectly normal. Over here, it's like every little thing ends with a thank you or please. It took me a long time to get used to that. It's a little weird because that's not the environment I grew up in. It was more natural, wherein you can do things for each other and not have to expect some type of validation for every little thing. So yeah, but now I'm already used to it. I say it, but maybe not as much still. And that came from family, even,
Yeah.
that advice. It was just like even that simple thing. Like I would feel odd when they would correct me and say thank you, or have to say that after I've said something. Like, oh my goodness, did I do something wrong? Because I didn't say thank you or please.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing because sometimes you'd think that somebody is being rude or disrespectful
Right.
or not grateful, but it's just a cultural thing, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like some cultures, they're very, they keep to themselves, and
Yes.
more a little bit modest. They're not very expressive. Whereas some other cultures are the opposite, wherein you have to show emotion for somebody to think that we're even paying attention to them.
Yeah.
Because if not, and we're just like this, they're, who knows? But in reality, that's just the way some cultures grow up with. They're not as expressive.
Yes. Well, what was the hardest thing for you to adjust to when you moved to America, besides please and thank you?
um, I think it was trying to see if I can balance out being my old self and then now this new environment and culture that I'm in. And because sometimes you have to adjust to the environment just so you can be heard, but yet sometimes it's not entirely you. Like, oh my goodness, I'm giving this up, and it may not be, I'm not authentic anymore to myself. So I think that's part of the whole, once you start living, you grow up one way and then now you enter in this new environment that's completely different from what you were used to or had grown up with. Like, okay, how can I have that balance of my old and my new and still be true to myself and be happy about it? Because I was doing a lot of almost like, I would say, people pleasing in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like thinking, oh, if I do this, maybe I will be more accepted or recognized or seen. Or if I act this way, or if I speak this way. Now that I'm more aware, it's like of what I could have been. I could have avoided so much headache if you can be yourself and you can still honor your old traditions and still be in a new environment. And you have to find that balance, I guess, is a way.
I'd imagine that it could be really confusing for anyone who is migrating to a different culture to suddenly go, well, who am I? What, not being able to know how to fit in or what to do or how to adjust to all of that. And we can talk more about that after the next little chocolate break.
Yes.
So let's have a look at who's helping to make this show happen while I have another nibble on some chocolate.
Introducing 123 Read to Me. We give books to children who don't have books so they can succeed. Help us give away books to supported playgroups, kindergartens, schools, community events. Come and sort books. Donate money. $5 equals one book in the hand of a child. Because just one book a day creates clever, kind and confident kids. 123 Read to Me. If this interests you, let's talk.
You've ticked the boxes: career, commitments, calendar that's more packed than your pantry, but something's still missing. In Compassionate Purpose, Andrea Putting invites you to stop chasing busy and start living with intention. This book is about real fulfillment through small acts of compassion, purpose-driven service, and meaning that last. No pressure, no perfection, just purpose with heart. Compassionate Purpose, Discovering a Life of Fulfillment. Search for Andrea Putting on Amazon. And I'm here today talking with Elee Joven and enjoying conversation and talking about culture. And so I'd love to talk about, when did you begin to realise that some of what you experienced when you moved from Guam to the US wasn't personal failure, but a cultural difference?
Yeah. When I really realized this was when I went back to university during the pandemic. I didn't know there was such a thing as what's called cultural intelligence. And it's a study, it's a skill wherein you recognize that different regions of the world have these dimensions that pretty much have been going on forever, for years and centuries. And they're so embedded to the point where in the belief systems and the values and the motivations of people are influenced by those culture dimensions. And I didn't know all that growing up. Like, I just thought that if growing up when I was young, in my maybe 10-year-old or, teens, I always thought like some cultures, they're just so loud and they're just so obnoxious. I won't name, but, that was my thinking.
Yeah.
And then some areas of like, how, at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, but how do you become like that? Like, I can't believe people are like that, right? And then now that I'm learning, or I learned that cultural intelligence skill, then I realize, oh my goodness, it all makes sense. There's about seven dimensions that are the most popular. And I think to myself, like, here, I think the maybe I'll go over one example wherein it is about how power is seen. Okay, so it's called power distance. So here in America, even though, despite it being, pretty advanced, pretty a superpower in the world, when you enter an organization as a worker, the power distance is actually low, wherein we are free to speak, our mind. We don't have to go through so much feeling like, oh, just because I'm on the bottom doesn't mean I can't work my way up, that type of thing. Whereas on a high power distance country or region, and I'll give an example for this, like in some parts of Asia or even in the Middle East, it's uncommon for like somebody who is way up on top to be speaking to somebody that is more on the bottom. So there's that power distance. So that's an example. And here in America, despite it being advanced, you would think it would be a higher power distance, wherein you being high and low, it takes longer or harder to communicate, but it's actually the opposite. You can. There's ways to. And the higher power distance countries, in the meantime, it's more like you recognize that, oh, this higher up is like way up there, and I can't really, it's not easy for me to approach them. I got to go through all these channels just to even see, if I can even speak or just have communication with them.
Yeah, and there is that big difference. And I can think of a few countries myself, like the caste system in India. And that's really hard for us to understand and comprehend. So,
Yes.
yeah, how quickly do we label difference as wrong? Because we see that as different, we might say it's wrong. How quickly do we do that?
Because we are so embedded into our own belief systems that we've been pretty much, we grew up with, and we think that what we know, what we grew up with, that's the norm. And perhaps everyone else is either weird or wrong, that doesn't align or doesn't make sense to us. So we have that bias towards our own, and some others we shut down automatically. Like, oh, I can never, that happens like with religion, right? There's so many different kinds of religions, and like, okay, I'm this type of religion, I won't even listen to another, or I think that what they're doing is extreme.
Yeah.
But do we really know that?
No.
Or what do we really know? So looking into, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go. But what changes when we come from curiosity instead of defensiveness?
What changes is that, when you start recognizing not just what you think is wrong, our own internal biases, we start with that. Like, okay, this is what I grew up, this is now what I'm aware of and what I know, but that doesn't mean that I'm always going to be correct. Especially now with the internet, so powerful. Anybody now has access to information. It was a little harder 30, 40 years ago because we can only go off of what we see on TV, right? Or if we travel. But now it's like at an instant, we can see what's happening even in the most remote areas of the world. And then we see these differences. So being open-minded about that and being curious, it also reduces the anxiety and the headaches that you think that you were correct or that you're the only one who knows what should be done.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's a reason maybe other people think and behave the way they do. And by training ourselves culturally with cultural intelligence, for me personally, it has lessened my headaches and just knowing when you don't have to fight with something. You don't have to escalate something. You avoid conflict. You can arrive at a better negotiation or even outcome faster and quicker because you realize that it's not so much me trying to prove I was right or trying to prove the other one was wrong, but honoring those differences.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Ali. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. But this week, we're going to have our Brew the Change challenge is to share chocolate and coffee with someone whose background or life experience is different from yours and ask them one question. What's something people often misunderstand about where you come from? Simply listen, no fixing, no debating, no comparing stories. Just listen long enough to understand another human being a little better. So thank you so much, Ali. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Oh, I do have a website. It's eleejoven.com. And then I also have I'm on LinkedIn as well. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. So until next time, let love be the loudest voice.
Yes.